And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to our great friend Lars Larson, just returning from east of the Great River from CPAC. Lars Larson Show, weeknight 6 to 9. Lars, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing, Kevin?
Good to have you with us. Boy, an adventure-filled week. Before we get to CPAC, your thoughts on Mr. Cohen and Mr. Cohen meets the press.
Cohen's a liar. But the question is, how much can you actually believe that he's been saying? Because he also says that, and remember, this is the man who at least arguably knows Donald Trump and his legal status better than anyone else, probably even better than Melania Trump knows Donald Trump, because Cohen was his lawyer. And according to Cohen, he started doing illegal things to the president and now regrets it. I think he regrets getting caught. But remember that he's going to go to prison, but he's going to prison for things that have nothing to do directly with Donald Trump. They have to do with Cohen's tax cheating. And so he had given testimony to Congress before. Now he says that was a lie, but he should be believed this time, and that the president does all kinds of illegal things all the time. I think Cohen is telling a tale to benefit himself because he knows that Robert Mueller and the prosecutors can send him to prison for a long time or a short time. He was originally offered a short time, a couple of years. Then apparently he wasn't saying the things publicly that Mueller and others wanted him to say, so he shows up in front of Congress, says that last bunch of stuff was a lie. Now you should believe me this time. And I think that's the picture. And as the president said at CPAC on Saturday, they're trying to push him out of office, which is not just something important to Donald Trump, but as he reminded the audience at CPAC, it's something that's significant to Americans. We chose this man to be president of the United States. And I know some of your audience is saying, well, he didn't win the popular vote. Folks, go back and take your third grade or fourth grade lesson in civics. The Constitution does not call for the election of a president by the popular vote. It is by the Electoral College vote, and there are specific reasons for that. We chose this president. And since the day of his election, or the day after his election, his opponents have been trying to say, remove him from office. And in fact, at that time, they were even saying, don't even let him take the oath of office. Well, that's not just an insult, but it's trying to disenfranchise tens of millions of Americans who chose this man to be the leader of this country. And they have been unabashed in their aim to try to remove him from office. That would be, of course, a big concern for Donald Trump, but it should be a big concern for American citizens. You mean we get to choose our leaders unless a certain group of people doesn't like the choice, in which case they can negate the choice out from under us? No, that's not the way American rule works. In third world banana republics, it may work that way, but it shouldn't work that way in America. If you don't like the choice, I didn't like the choice of Barack Obama, and I thought if he did things that were impeachable, that he should be impeached for them, and I believe he did do some things that were impeachable, but the country chose not to do that. Right now, you notice that even Nancy Pelosi is not calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump, not because she doesn't hate the man's guts, but because she thinks that it would have bigger political consequences for the people around her than trying to do it, because I actually think they might succeed in impeaching him in the House. They have the votes to do it, but they know they wouldn't get a conviction in the Senate. So that means that they would do what happened to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was impeached, but he was not convicted. So, my thoughts on Cohen is that Cohen is a liar by his own description. He is an admitted liar under oath to Congress by his own description. And now he is saying the things he thinks are necessary to make sure that he doesn't go to prison for 20 years and instead only serves a couple of years. So how much of what he says should we believe? Although there is one part I'm inclined to believe, having said all that about him being a thoroughgoing liar, is that he says, knowing the president's case very well, Donald Trump did not collude with Russia to try to change the outcome of the election. So all the people who are running on the collusion line saying, we've got to get rid of Donald Trump, he colluded with Vladimir Putin, and the two of them affected the election, the president's own lawyer is saying, no, that didn't happen. Now, like I said, he is a liar, so you can believe him or not believe him. But that's what I think we should make of Michael Cohen. He is, as one of my prosecutor friends likes to say, the prosecutor isn't just asking him to sing. They're asking him to compose, meaning make up stuff. And I think he's done that.
Our great friend Lars Larson joining us, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. You catch Lars tonight, weeknight 6 to 9 here. So, Lars, when we take a look at the President's Summit with Kim Jong-un and CPAC, your thoughts? We love the big newsmaker interviews you provided us for us this week from Washington, D.C. What were your takeaways on those two topics?
Well, let's talk about walking away from the table. Now, there were people saying, mostly the Chicken Noodle News Network and other media like that, and the Democrats saying, well, this shows that it's a failure because Donald Trump walked away. Every single person in your audience who has any common sense knows that's not true. Everyone who has purchased an automobile, everyone who has purchased a home, everybody who's made a significant decision, everybody who's had a job interview. If you walk into a job interview for a position you really want, and the person who's trying to hire you names a figure for salary that you believe does not match what you think you're worth, you need to have the guts to stand up and say, thank you very much for your time, and you walk out of the room politely. That's what Donald Trump did. He walked away from the table. So did Ronald Reagan back at Reykjavik, Iceland, when he walked away from the table. If you don't have the guts to walk away from the table to a bad offer, then you will take the bad offer. Would it have been a better thing if the President of the United States had said, I'm here at the table. I want to make sure that America sees me doing something, so I'll take a bad deal. Let me give you an example of a man who took several bad deals, and his name is Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Obama went to the Iranians and said, you need to give up your nuclear program, or we're going to hurt you with economic sanctions. And they said, we're not going to do that, but how about you send us an airplane full of money in exchange for us doing essentially nothing? And he said, sounds like a good deal. Came back to America. Such a good deal that he didn't submit it to the United States Senate as is required for treaties by the Constitution of the United States. But he called it a good deal, the best deal he could get, because he wasn't willing to walk away from the table. And then there was a deal called the Paris Climate Accord, again, not tested by being submitted to the Senate as the Constitution requires for treaties, but even though he's a constitutional scholar, maybe Barack Obama missed that day in class when they taught that treaties have to be approved by the U.S. Senate. In the Paris Climate Accords, here was the deal they offered. You, the United States, get to cut back on your carbon output so much that it will cripple your economy. Meanwhile, India and China, two of the biggest polluters on the planet, bar none, they're nowhere near as clean as America is right now. They said our part of the deal is we get to keep on polluting, and we get to keep on increasing our pollution for more than a decade going into the future. How's that for a deal? And Barack Obama said, that sounds like a good deal. America cripples its economy. Its biggest economic competitors on the globe get to pollute more, while America gets to put less CO2 in the air, less pollution, and we cripple our economy and hurt our population. Sounds like a good deal. And he walked away and, again, didn't submit it to the Senate because he knew the Senate would have voted it down. So that's what happens when you don't have the guts to walk away from the table. Barack Obama did not have the guts to walk away from the table. Donald Trump does. That's how you communicate to people that you're serious. Now, I'm just asking all of your audience to remember the last time they stood on a car lot and they had gone on saying, I'm not buying a pickup truck unless I get the right price and the right terms. And the dealer said, you're not going to get those terms. And they stood there and bought the pickup truck anyway. I think all of us have done that from time to time, and we've regretted it later. We said, I went down there intending to get the deal that I knew I had to have, and I took the deal they offered me instead, and I didn't have the guts to walk away. And most of us, after one of those experiences, say, I'm never doing that again. If you want to sell your house or if you want to buy a house, you offer or accept the deal you're willing to accept, and you have to have the guts to walk away. Now, see, everybody who's listening to this right now, Kevin, is thinking back when I was 21, I walked on, and I really got taken to the cleaners on a car lot or in a house sale, or took a job for less money that I knew I was worth because I wasn't willing to walk away from the table. And after that, they said, I'm never letting that happen to me again. Donald Trump has been doing deals long enough to know there's a time you walk away. But that means that he'll come back. And I'll tell you why he'll come back. As Kim Jong-un was leaving the conversation, as he was leaving the summit, he was asked by a reporter, Are you serious about denuclearizing the North Korean peninsula? And that is really, at the end of the day, with all the other details aside, that is the essential question. And his answer to the reporter was, if I wasn't serious about denuclearizing the North Korean peninsula, I wouldn't have come to this meeting at all. So he's willing to do it. He needs to find the right deal. And Donald Trump is willing to do it, but he needs to get the best deal. Doesn't it feel good to have a country represented by somebody who knows when to walk away from the table?
Our great friend Lars Larson joining us, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. And Lars, finally, your takeaway from CPAC, hanging with all the great conservatives from throughout the country, sir.
Well, it's interesting because this is an off year. Next year will be a presidential election year and a congressional election year, and we'll choose some senators as well, 1/3 of them. So next year is the big year. This year hit a new attendance record. We had more American conservatives there, and I'm aware that CPAC is more moderate than I am. It's more moderate than many people are. But it is, and I made this point last week during the broadcast, it is the single biggest political gathering in the United States, which means it's the single biggest political gathering in all the free countries of the world. So it is a significant event. I pointed out the significance that the liberals and the Democrats have nothing like it. And why don't they have anything like it? Because conservatives are willing to hear dissent and debate. Because through dissent and debate and conversation, you arrive at the best answers for a problem. And the Democrats don't want dissent and debate within their ranks. They've told their ranks, this is the line you will hew to. And, if you're pro-life, you're not welcome. If you're anti-taxes, you're not welcome. If you're going to take a position antithetical to a carbon plan, you're not welcome. So they've laid out the marching orders, and they don't brook any kind of dissent. A political gathering like CPAC exposes all the warts and everything else so that people can say, gosh, conservatives don't agree on some things. That's right, we don't. But we figure better solutions are arrived at when you throw all the ideas in, you let everybody debate them, you see what all the angles are, and then you make decisions. And so I'm enthused that an off-election year produces the single biggest turnout for CPAC. It was close to 19,000 people. And there was a time when I first started going more than a decade ago when it was about 10 or 12,000 people who would gather. It was quite a significant gathering, and to have the vice president there and the president there and other elected officials and all, it was a big deal.
Well, Lars, you're a big deal. We thank you so much for joining us every Monday and, of course, listening to your national show weeknight 6 to 9 here, sir.
Kevin, thanks very much. It's a pleasure.
Our great friend Lars Larson joining us, Kevin Miller in the morning. Lars, have a great day.
And you as well. Take care.
All right, our great friend Lars. Let's go to your phone calls. Wes in Caldwell, thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Wes.
Hello, Kevin. I was calling regarding the story about the, gentleman from the 3% Club. I guess he was holding up an OK sign or what looked like one.
Right, back in the old days. Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's not a symbol for white power. This started as a hoax or a social experiment from a website called 4chan, which is essentially a bunch of trolls. These guys have done all sorts of internet hoaxes and stuff like that just to see if they could get people to believe them. They even went so far as to try to get Justin Bieber sent to North Korea. They decided that, and you can look this up online on the internet. I'm a tech guy, so it's my job to be plugged into these kinds of things. But they basically wanted to, 3 fingers up is supposed to be a W, and then the circle that your forefinger and your thumb make is supposed to symbolize the P. And they put that information out there on the internet, and the mainstream media picked it up and ran with it. And every now and then, you get somebody who makes this sign. The woman who was sitting behind Brett Kavanaugh, she got ripped for it. There were some cops who were playing the circle game where they put a circle on their leg, and because it made what looked like an upside-down OK sign, they lost their jobs over it. So I just wanted everybody to know, and it's disappointing that even our local media didn't bother to research this. It's not what it means.
Wes, thank you for letting us know that on KIDO Talk Radio. Take care, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Phone number is 580-5436. If you're just tuning in, reaction to Lars Larson and CPAC, the left's continued ability to try and impeach the president, of course, talking about Janice McGeehan and this controversy concerning the 3%ers and what is a symbol of badness and what is a symbol of, hey, it's okay, everybody. Pro-Life joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Pro-Life.
Good morning. Marianne Jordan is the one that needs to be censored. And, in our state legislature, they have the ultra-polite kind of thing. You're supposed to call a woman good lady and the man, the good man, as you're talking, in the committees or on the floor. And but they need to censor her. And there was one other Democrat legislator that was standing next to her, and I saw him on TV. And Marianne Jordan is just jumping to her conclusion that she wants to shut down the 3%ers, and those people are totally innocent of anything. They didn't intend to do anything wrong. Anyway, our state legislature, we just voted for partial birth abortion. Marianne Dumont, the Dumont lady from Eagle, she put it through a legislative bill. Now, I think it passed the House, and I don't know, I hope the Senate turns it down, but there's a federal law that says that partial birth abortion is legal, except for if it's done for the life of the mother. Okay, so we mirrored that very same thing. All the Republicans voted for it. All the Democrats voted against it. Now, that's just how sheepish our Republicans are. That is totally wrong because that sets up that it's okay to kill the baby. That's a legislative announcement that you can kill a baby if the doctor says that my baby can't live past birth. You can't do that. I just can't believe how stupid our people are. Now, see, we haven't done anything about the sales tax.
Well, that's a very good point. Where's everybody on the campaign trail that said they were going to repeal the grocery tax? That hasn't even been brought to committee. That hasn't even there hasn't even been a bill written about that. There has been no movement on that. Now we're going to approve Medicaid expansion that could bankrupt the state.
I know, exactly, and we need to pressure Governor Little to veto that. That needs to be shut down, and I think I don't know if it's passed the House and the Senate, but it needs to just be totally shut down. And Republicans are socialists. They're just slower than Democrats. You have to admit that. And so when President Trump says we're not going to have a socialist nation, and then about 5 minutes later in his speech, he's proposing socialist ideas, I mean, you have to just know that we're a socialist nation and we're just two socialist parties, one going slower than the other one. That's all it is.
Well, there's a positive outlook. More of your calls next, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Back to the Lieutenant Governor. Your thoughts on this photo, the idea that if you say the OK sign, that's a sign of white supremacy. The Capitol isn't safe because of the bad 3%ers, and the drive to impeach the president. Your reaction next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And rolling right along, phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll go to Barb in Sunny Slope. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. Referencing what Lars was talking about with Michael Cohen and Trump, there is a longtime confidant of Trump, Lynn Patton, who worked with the group of them and considered Michael a friend, who put out some interesting news. And she said, and I'll quote it because there's no reason to summarize it, it's pretty short. What many of you may not be aware of is the fact that I can personally confirm that the only reason Michael Cohen turned on the president of the United States is because Mueller threatened to throw his wife in jail for up to 30 years. She's the co-grantor of a $20 million personal loan that Mueller discovered Michael secured back in 2015 by falsely inflating the value of his taxi medallions, effectively making now her part and parcel to a federal charge of making false statements to a financial institution, to which Cohen pleaded guilty. And so there is a reason for his wife to be at risk. And supposedly, according to this article, Mueller threatened his wife with 30 years if he didn't kind of come up with something for Congress. I think that's corruption at its best.
Well, that's what the prosecution will do. They'll get you one way or the other, Barb. Thank you for the call. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio.
Channel 7's Eric Everett.
Back to your phone calls about the issues that matter to you. Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, impeach President Trump. Have they all gone bonkers? President Trump has done more for this country and the people of this country, in my opinion, than any other president in such a short time. And so I say impeach. Impeach, the big question mark, Kevin, why? They don't have any reason to impeach him. They're just making things up.
Well, they're making things up, but, you know, again, their idea is to get rid of this man that has done so much and continues to do so much. They don't want a fight against socialism. They want us all to be dependent on them.
Saying, you know, we took a whole day, you know, like I said, it was a lot to do about nothing. And it only proves that, you know, the conservatives are correct. All this we have gone through since President Trump was elected has all to do about nothing. And that's my opinion. And, you know, the most important document in the whole world is our Constitution. And Holly was right about that. And all other nations talk about our Constitution. You know, I say don't mess with our Constitution. President Trump always stands up for the people here. You know, I say keep it up, President Trump. You're wonderful. And Kevin, you're absolutely wonderful also. So keep up the good work for us, Kevin, both of you, President Trump and you, Kevin.
God bless, Liberty Linda. You take care.
You as well. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And more of your phone calls. Don't forget that Dave Ramsey follows Glenn Beck right here on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Let's go to our great friend, Kimbra Shaw, joining us from Love Inc. Good morning, Kimbra.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good to have you with us here. So we've got a big event coming up where it'll benefit the good folks at Love Inc.
We do. It's our annual event. It's called The Calling, and we are gearing up for that on March 15th. So we're excited to be able to share this with your listeners.
You know, Kimbra, for a lot of people that have moved into the Treasure Valley, what is Love Inc. and why is it so important? What is the mission statement, ma'am?
So it is cooperatively working with our churches. So our purpose is to mobilize churches to transform lives and communities in the name of Christ. So what we do is we take the collaborative efforts of 50 different churches working together in the Boise area to provide real solutions to people working through needs. We're giving them a hand up, not a hand out, and we're working on sustainable, long-term financial solutions.
Boy, that's easier said than done. Yeah, most people in churches that, you know, between services have trouble getting along. How'd you get 50 churches to coordinate and understand the importance of this effort?
Well, I tell you, it is a miracle, and only God could pull it off. We'll just leave it at that. But once people understand, I think churches and individuals within the church, they feel the need, and they really want to care for people in our community. We just don't know how. And so what Love Inc. does is they come in and they create a process. They create a way that's safe, it's effective, it's efficient. Everybody does their part, and things get done. And I think people like that. They respond very well to that.
Well, and specifically, who is impacted by Love Inc.? Can you give us some examples of how the program is giving people, as you say, a hand up?
You know, I can. And our Abundant Living program is probably the best example of that. We had, at Christmas time, we had 42 families participating with us, and they were learning how to have a debt-free, stress-free, guilt-free Christmas. So now, where most people in coming out of a Christmas season are struggling with the bills and the debts that have come alongside, because of the folks working in the program, learning the principles of good, sound financial spending through things like holidays, they were able to come into January, February, and March and not be living in fear of having those big bills coming or having regrets over things that didn't go quite right. And the churches came alongside, so nobody missed out. In fact, there was, last time I looked, there was $26,000 worth of items delivered to 168 families just over Christmas.
Amazing. So what can we do to help and spread the word?
Well, that's exactly what we need to do, is spread the word. So your listeners can go to our website, which is BoiseLoveInc.org, and pick up their tickets for the calling. This year the theme is Love Lifted Me, and we're featuring all the ways that Love Inc. impacts the next generation. You know, isolation and difficulty paying bills are impacting not just the adults in our community, but the children as well. And we want to really highlight and focus in on what individuals can do to invest relationally to help the next generation find their feet as well.
Well, and we have so many people moving in, and sometimes people fall through the safety nets.
That's right. That's right. And Love Inc. is needs-based. It's not income-based. So unlike a lot of programs that are out there, you don't have to meet an income criteria. If you've got a need, we want to hear your story. We want to see what's available and match resources to your specific need to help you move through that need and move on to having that abundant life that God intended.
Boy, that is so necessary. Kimbra, final thoughts for people that want more information or how to help or maybe volunteer?
You know, our website is really the best place to go, and we've got all that information on there. Again, it's BoiseLoveInc.org, or they can give Nancy a call in the office and just have a chat and share their heart, and we'll be happy to match them up with about 100 different positions that we have, because it's all volunteer-based. Everything we do is because people step up and decide to do something.
Kimbra, thank you very much, and appreciate your great work at Love Inc. year after year. Thank you, ma'am.
Kevin, always a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. A great young lady there, Kimbra Shaw, Love Inc. And again, a benefiting those folks, the calling, his vision, promise, plan, timing, purpose at Tree City Church, North Eagle Road in Boise. The program begins at 7 p.m. March 15th. BoiseLoveInc.org for more information. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
I saw a little Shifty Schiff yesterday. No, it's the first time. He went into a meeting, and he said, we're going to look into his finance. I said, where did that come from? He always talked about Russia. Collusion with Russia. The collusion delusion.
The collusion, the delusion, that was the president from CPAC.
Now, Robert Mueller never received a vote, and neither did the person that appointed him. And as you know, the Attorney General says, I'm going to recuse myself.
To the phones. Joining us now, the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, GemStatePatriot.com. The man who warned about Medicaid expansion for years, possibly bankrupting the state, the Paul Revere of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob on KIDO Talk Radio.
You know, Kevin, nowadays, it doesn't seem like anybody really wants to listen to what you have to say. They all have their own ideas. They're applied by the big money people, and the medical community here has really done a great job on that. But there are two issues that you and Dave touched on this morning, and they're important issues. And I just want to elaborate a little bit. You know, the first, let me say, I'm not talking through my hat. I spent 17 years in the construction business with several of my own companies here in the Treasure Valley. The building that has taken place in the Treasure Valley, because of the urban renewal, has caused more problems than most of us can imagine. And one of your listeners called in on Friday who thinks developers are paying their fair share for the impact fees for their building. If that was so, we wouldn't have congestion on our roads, class size larger than it should be in our schools, more bond issues every year to build more schools, and problems with wastewater because we have too few facilities. You know, developers pay a portion of their development costs and impact fees. Obviously, these fees are not enough to pay for the infrastructure, or we wouldn't have so much congestion, need for more bond issues for schools, or problems with our water. When we allow politicians and developers to run our state as they have been during the growth periods, it wreaks havoc with the way we live. And when we have to use taxpayer money to develop cornfields, that is not what we call urban renewal. Developers like Ben make plenty of money on their developments. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the business. I see it all the time. But we have to stop giving them free taxpayer money for 20 years on the backs of the people who actually have to live here and deal with all of these problems. You know, on Medicaid expansion, the problem has finally reared its ugly head in Idaho. You have no idea how many problems it's going to cause. First, we're going to have a larger shortage of doctors, as we're going to have 70 to 120,000 more people who are going to have to be taken care of. And the reimbursement is not going to match the cost of the doctors. So they're going to be raising the prices for the insured patients. Same thing's going to happen with the hospitals, and wait times are going to be longer. The legislature defeated the Sunset Bill that would have allowed the state to shut the Medicaid problem down if indeed at some time in the future the feds drop the amount of reimbursement below 90%. Without that Sunset Bill, we will eventually have problems with the state budget, and money allocated for schools and for other funding will have to be diverted to Medicaid, along with higher taxes for everyone in the state.
Well, and this is something that you've been talking about for years. And here's my point. Yeah. You know, who's to say it's not 120,000 instead of 60,000? And who's to say without a cap, it won't bankrupt the state? And again, you've been talking about this since it was first broached, 3 or 4 years ago?
Steve and I have been on this case for a long time. And what really eggs me is that we have a legislature who knows that they're going to be in trouble, but they don't care. They just don't care about the people. They see it's a problem. They put a bill up there, and then they defeat it. We have a bunch of idiots in our legislature that are in charge of what's going on. They take bills and stuff them in drawers that are good bills. They take other drill bills that are bad bills, and they bring them out, and they execute on them. This is not good politics. You know, I say beware of what you wish for because you might get it. The medical community in Idaho sold the taxpayers a bill of goods, and they're going to make a fortune on what they did on the backs of the taxpayers who are needing medical care, and it's going to be at much higher prices. So mark my words, the problems are coming, and if you don't start listening and you don't start changing it, you're all going to be very, very sorry.
Well, we appreciate the Sweet Prince joining us this morning.
Thank you, my friend. I hope you have a great day and a great show as usual.
We'll see you around, brother.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, our great friend Tea Party Bob. Coming up next, the crazy, wacky libs, they don't like the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you're from Santa Barbara, even if you're not, you're going to want to hear this next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling right along, so how political is the national anthem? Santa Barbara. You remember Santa Barbara, right? Santa Barbara City College. You had a former professor, was shouted down because she wanted to cite the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sitting there, and this is from our friends at For America. You can find it on the Kevin Miller Show Facebook page, where you have the city council meeting, and all of a sudden, they're surrounded by a group of protesters, kind of like what you'd see in the old communist days. So all of a sudden, you have this professor saying, quote, "We stand for our country, we stand for our flag," and then the shenanigans start. Nothing really to joke about here, but this is happening in California, the same place where people are moving here from. So who's to say it won't happen here next?
Is hidden. Because the flag is hidden, I'm holding up a flag. I would ask anyone who would like to stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's all right. Point of order, come on. It's ridiculous.
Trustee Miller, I respectfully ask that you bring order to this meeting.
If you could please allow the members of the board to have sufficient room to move their chairs.
So here we have it. The students are surrounding the board members, protesting the Pledge of Allegiance, and what they're doing is intimidating these folks. with their signs and with their protests. This is the Santa Barbara Community College Board of Trustees meeting, happened this year concerning public comment, and they're surrounded by these groups of individuals seeking to intimidate these folks. Who in their right mind would protest the Pledge of Allegiance?
So why should y'all have some?
Speaker has 1 minute and 35 seconds left. The board of
Hands. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am here to speak against the board president's decision to discontinue the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance at trustees' public meetings.
There we have it.
At my request, the trustees reinstated the pledge last summer. I am asking that Board President Miller rescind his decision.
So that's what started it all. Folks, there's something wrong with the world today. Yes, we live in Idaho, but we got the crazy, devious little libs moving in here. And did you ever think that you would hear on Idaho's first radio station a peaceful meeting where you have the mob rule-like tactics, the intimidation, flashing signs within 6 inches of people's faces? This is the Saul Alinsky stuff that we've been warning about, and this goes back to Obama. And if you can't win, you intimidate. And the reason why they fear Donald Trump so much is because he's not intimidated. Donald Trump fires back, and he gives them a taste of their own medicine.
I saw a little shifty Schiff yesterday. Oh, it's the first time. He went into a meeting, and he said, we're going to look into his finances. I said, where did that come from? He always talked about Russia. Collusion with Russia. The collusion delusion.
Kurt in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Kurt.
Morning, Kevin. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on several different things here. Just the lieutenant governor is totally free from doing whatever she wants, and the liberals are just trying to go after her and just chip away at our free speech. I mean, there was a big stink about the people of the governor and lieutenant governor in Virginia, and nothing happened to those guys. Now they're coming over here to our state and trying to rile something up. It's just unbelievable. They're just chipping away at our society everywhere they can go.
Who's defending the lieutenant governor?
I wish somebody would. But no, I read the article, and someone, unnamed person, says, I'm afraid to take my children to the State House now. Hey, I'm sorry, but you know what? That's what sometimes I feel is wrong with America. One person says something, and all of a sudden the whole society has to change. I don't understand. I mean, just like putting up the ball field. That's crazy. I don't understand. I think we should vote on that. Just not give these several people all this authority to do these things. We need somebody to defend the lieutenant governor. I don't know. I'll help pay a GoFundMe page. I don't know. What do you think we should do?
Well, I would like to hear from some of the elected officials. Why hasn't anybody come to her defense? And it seems kind of strange to me that because one person says this is a racist symbol and you have other people using it in a non-racist way, the OK sign, it's absurd that this is a major story. But I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with her having, being the number 2 in power. She's a conservative. She doesn't come from the establishment wing. So when there's a story, Kurt, that can humiliate our wonderful, brave lieutenant governor, we see this being churned up. As I said, I'm watching the Lakers versus the Bucks, and the guy hits a 3, African-American star. He's flashing the sign. Does that mean he's down with the white supremacists?
I don't think so, brother, but I enjoyed the interview with her. I think she's a wonderful woman, and I'm proud that she's our lieutenant governor, and I hope she does a real good job, and I just hope this does not tarnish her ability to continue to be in public service.
Kurt, thank you for listening, and thank you for calling in on KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Miller in the morning, traffic and weather together. And I'm Kevin Miller, wishing you and yours a great day. Don't go anywhere. Glenn Beck is next. Dave Ramsey, Sean, and Lars will take you home. Ray and I, great job. Young Joel, appreciate you being here with us. Good day, everybody, and God bless.